and we hope that it will be interesting for all of the participants. And we certainly tried our best to bring about best knowledge and lessons learned from the specific international program projects that are being or implemented under the Minamata Convention and its financial mechanism. So my name is Alexander Romanov. I'm a program management officer for capacity building technical assistance. I'll be moderating today's session. And before we start, just a quick housekeeping announcement. So in principle, when we'll have, if we have time, a Q&A session towards the end of this event, questions will be welcomed, and then whoever would like to ask one would need to use the raise hand function of WebEx, and then basically he or she will be given the floor. I would like to encourage you all to pose your questions in the chat as they come, so we would be able to respond to them while the presentations are ongoing. I will also, yeah, so, and then you need to do it in a chat box and send it to everyone. Any technical assistance that may be required be thought through the chat as well. And then you would need to send that request to host or co-host of this event. Please be notified that this session is being recorded and also broadcasted live through the YouTube channel of the Minamata Convention Secretariat. And also, this is very important to us to keep improving the arrangements for the upcoming events for us to actually collect your feedback. So once the session is completed, please fill out the survey in the end. So with this, I would like to start our session and invite Brenda Kukuk, a Senior Coordination Officer of the Minamata Convention Secretariat, to deliver some welcoming remarks. Brenda, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander, and welcome to our participants today joining us for this side event on the specific international program. So this event will highlight the role of the SIP in facilitating capacity building and providing technical assistance to support effective implementation of the convention. And it is, of course, one of the two components of our financial mechanism. At its first meeting, the Conference of the Parties decided to establish the specific international program for an initial period of 10 years from the creation of the trust fund, with the possibility of a 7-year extension. So today is an opportunity to reflect on these first 8 years now of the SIP, and to date we've had 34 projects approved through 4 rounds of applications. We're very pleased that the SIP Governing Board approved 10 new projects this past January, and the legal agreements for most of these projects have now been concluded and their implementation is just beginning. So it's an exciting time for us. We're delighted to have with us today 4 of our SIP project partners who will share their achievements of projects from the second and third rounds of the SIP. And that's important to show these success stories and lessons learned. So welcome to our participants today. All 5 projects from the first round, 10 from the second round, and 3 from the third round have now been completed. Most of the projects we will hear about today are among those completed, while the remaining third round projects continue to be implemented in line with the results-based project documents. So the SIP directly responds to the needs of developing country parties and parties with economies in transition. provides targeted financial support for capacity building and technical assistance needs. They themselves identify as priorities to enable full implementation of their binding obligations. And the program is actually managed by the parties through the SIP Governing Board. So we would like to just take this opportunity to thank and provide our deepest appreciation to all members of the Governing Board for their dedication and hard work over the years. I think they are critical in maintaining high quality projects and success of the program. Also, of course, we are very thankful to our donors. Just with the Secretary, I would like to express deep gratitude to the 10 donor countries that have so far supported the program, and this includes Austria, Denmark, France, Germany, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. So we're very grateful for these contributions from these 10 countries. Let me also note that the Special Trust Fund is open to contributions not only from governments, but also from private sector foundations, non-governmental and civil society organizations, international orgs, and academia. And the SIP is open to receive voluntary contributions and applications for support for an initial period of 10 years from the establishment of the fund. And this is until the end of 2027. So the COP may decide to extend the program beyond 31st of December 2027 for an additional 7 years, and this will be a decision for COP 7 consideration in 2027. So in the meantime, we remain hopeful that timely and sufficient financial and other resources will continue to be mobilized for the trust fund and enable us to launch the next round of applications as soon as possible. But today is our chance to celebrate some of the successes of the SIP to date, and we're very pleased to do that. Now, before I close out, I'd also like just to say a very special thank you to our colleague, Maria Irene Rizzo, for organizing today's session and for her support to the SIP and the Minamata Convention. Irene's term as Associate Program Officer will be closing in a few weeks, and we're sad for this. She has been a very steady hand and backbone for the SIP for many years, and I think all of our project partners and colleagues in the Secretariat are very appreciative for her support. So we're very grateful. And I don't want to say a strong goodbye because I know we will see her around and moving forward, but I just really wanted to acknowledge Irene's support as we move forward. So with that, I look forward to hearing more about today's session, and it's my pleasure to hand over back to Alexander Romanoff, our Program Management Officer, who will moderate the session. So over to you, Alex, and thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Thanks a lot. So, colleagues, I would also like to thank Maria Rena for all her work. And before we start the panel with the 4 interventions from 4 project countries, I would like to ask Maria Rena, as Brenda mentioned, she's been our master of the specific international program for almost 4 years. And she's been serving as an associate expert for capacity building technical assistance at the Secretariat. And during the first 2.5 years, her position has been graciously funded by the government of Italy through the Joiner Professional Officer Program. So, and Marie Rena will present the report on gender mainstreaming in projects, case studies from the specific international program. Marie Irene, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Alexander. And thank you, Brenda, for your kind words. Very much appreciated. Good day, everyone. I will briefly introduce the report on case studies on the gender dimensions of SIP projects. So let me start by recalling that COP5 decision MC5/15 welcomed the Gender Action Plan, which is set out in document INF 10, and invited parties and the Secretariat to implement a number of priority activities to implement the Gender Action Plan. So these possible activities to be carried out by the Secretariat and the parties to advance the Gender Action Plan during the biennium 2024-2025, so before COP6, are outlined in document COP5/18, and in particular in Annex 1. So letter C of paragraph 1 of Annex 1 mandates the Secretariat to develop case studies on the gender dimensions of SIP projects. And the report Gender Mainstreaming in Projects, case studies from the specific international program, which was made possible thanks to the generous voluntary contribution from Finland, has been prepared precisely to fulfill this activity. So let's move to the next slide. I will run quite quickly through the slides, so I will not take too much time from our speakers from SIP projects. Just to say that the objective of this study, of this report, is to highlight the successful gender integration elements and activities from various projects funded by the SIP, and this can serve as best practices for future SIP projects. In fact, the expected results of the study were to complete, of course, activity 1, letter C of COP document 18, that I presented in the previous slide, then to provide the current and prospective SIP project partners with some useful information and examples on how to integrate gender dimensions into SIP projects, then to also provide the SIP donors, the SIP governing board, and the parties at the COP with information on how the SIP is supporting parties in advancing gender mainstreaming. And finally, to collect some information and data that could be used to complete the results framework of the SIP, which was developed in the context of the midterm evaluation of the SIP. In terms of the methodology, the study first conducted an analysis of the gender elements contained in the 24 SIP projects approved in the first 3 rounds of applications to the SIP. And for this, the study made use of a tool that includes criteria to review the project documentation available to the Secretariat during the project life cycle. And that means the stages of design of the project, implementation, and closure of the project. So this information was compiled through the tool, and 3 projects were identified as possible case studies on mainstreaming gender in SIP projects. The study also identified and briefly described elements from other SIP projects that were not chosen as case studies, but that could be considered good examples of integrating gender dimensions into SIP projects. In the next slide, I just would like to show you how the SIP requires the consideration of gender elements and at each stage of the project life cycle. In particular, we have the application guidelines for the 4th round of applications to the SIP. These are the latest application guidelines we have developed for the 4th round of applications, and these provide information on how to ensure gender mainstreaming into the project applications. And gender is also one of the criteria that is used by the SIP governing board to appraise and then to also approve projects. Gender mainstreaming is also a required application element, and there's a specific section on gender in the project application form that you can see in the slide. And then both the guidelines for conducting a SIP project terminal evaluation and the SIP project terminal review include a section requesting to describe how the project implemented its gender strategies. Moving on to the next slide. We would like to show you here that the analysis of the 3 projects selected as case studies, and these were the projects in Argentina, Armenia, and the Republic of Moldova, identified a number of key examples on how to integrate gender dimensions into SIP projects. For example, gender considerations could be included in SIP projects through the analysis of differentiated impacts of Mercury and the development of gender responsive data and documents. For example, the SIP project in Argentina produced a report on Mercury and gender issues, or the SIP project in Armenia developed a survey, and also that was also carried out by women-led NGO. There was a partner in the project. Another way of integrated gender dimension is to ensure inclusive stakeholder engagement and awareness raising. For example, all these 3 projects developed awareness raising campaigns, but also workshops, seminars, which targeted groups of vulnerable people or people in vulnerable situations, and ensured also the meaningful and active participation of women and girls. Gender considerations were also taken into account in project management and implementation. And again, all the 3 projects had project focal points who were women, and the majority of the implementation team consisted of women. And another possible key example is the inclusion of gender-specific outputs, indicators, and targets in the project logical framework. Moving to the next slide. We would like to show you that gender considerations were addressed not only in the 3 case studies that I've just presented, but also in other projects. And they were addressed throughout the design, implementation, and closure phases of these projects. So this table highlights the key dimensions, key gender dimensions in the projects in the Islamic Republic of Iran, Antigua and Barbuda, Peru, Zambia, and Rwanda. For more information, of course, everything will be in the report that will be published very soon on the Minamata Convention website. And moving to my final slide, this is to show you the detailed analysis that we conducted to produce the gender report, and in particular, the detailed analysis of the 3 case studies permitted to collect and also compile data and information to start populating the SIP results framework, and in particular, indicator 3.2 of output 3 and indicator 4.2 of output 4 of the SIP results framework. So, of course, all these will be in the report. So we very warmly invite you to take a look at it as soon as it will be published, which I believe will happen in the coming weeks and before the COP in any case. So with that, I would like to thank you very much, and I will hand over to you, Alexander. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Irene. Thanks a lot. So now we are ready to actually move to our panel discussion. And today we have 4 projects coming from Ecuador, Sri Lanka, North Macedonia, and Senegal. And I would like to invite Mr. Pablo Bunces, who is a chemical engineer from the Central University of Ecuador. He holds a master's degree in engineering processes with a focus on environmental engineering from the University of Stuttgart in Germany. His professional experience includes working in the food industry and participating in projects aimed at optimizing metallurgical processes to improve working conditions in artisanal mining. He has contributed to the implementation of the Minamata Convention in Ecuador and has been technical lead of the SIP project in Ecuador, which he will now present. Pablo, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me correctly?
Yes, we can hear you well. Thank you.
So, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Today, I am going to speak on behalf of the Ministry of Environment and Energy from Ecuador. I'm going to speak about our experience with our project. To start, I want to say that we applied to the specific international program in the second round. The name of our project in Ecuador is the project to strengthen capacities in the implementation of the Minamata Convention in Ecuador. With the main objective of our project, was to strengthen the country capacity to control the national mercury emissions and releases. To summarize a little bit what have done, we identified significant sources of mercury emissions and releases, identify concentrations in water, soil, and sediments. This was important also to evaluate the optimization process that we have in Ecuador in order to also develop new process or to improve the process that already exists. With all the information that we have collected and also we have to prepare, we try to have an action plan, a very complete action plan. With the action plan, we try to include management strategies and proposals to strengthen the legal framework for the implementation of the Minamata Convention. The budget that we have for this project has a duration of 3 years, was about $2,400. Also, as applicant contribution of Ecuador was $1,003 above. Our project was also focused on the Article 8 that we speak about emissions, and the Article 9 that speak about releases, but also we implement the Article 12 because we want to improve and reinforce our action plans, speaking or looking for information about the contaminated sites. It's a very big problem that we have in Ecuador, and I am going to speak better in the next slides. So, please, next slide. Okay. It's important I am going to divide this presentation in the three main outputs that we have done. The first one is to point sources of emission and releases of mercury identified. For this part, I would like to explain how the Ministry of Environment Energy want to control the companies that maybe can produce environmental pollution. The Ministry of Environment has 23 units. 23 units. This was focused on the main companies, we could say the high companies as Lundin Gold or Holcim, that are the biggest companies in Ecuador, but also delegate some competence to decentralized autonomous governments. So we could say that they are focused in the middle of small companies. They also have two decentralized and autonomous governments. And with all this information, we also have our system that we collect all the information about the environment emissions, or also the permissions, environmental permissions. We call it SUIA. It's the name in Spanish, but also with this kind of program, we have identified 1,327 projects. But also it's important to mention that here is not easy to identify, to say that all the companies, all the projects that we identify that could release or release emissions or some pollutants are related with mercury. That is also a big problem that we have to face during the project. With all these companies or projects, we could say we identified 161 mercury monitoring records. With this information, also we can manage the information that we have collected, and we have 2013 mercury concentration data that we see in water or soil. But the main problem that we found, was that at least for the 8% of this data, they exceeded the permissible limits. That is a big problem that we already have, and for sure we will have in the next in the future. But also with this work, we try to work directly with the companies, and we visit 29 industry in order to identify the process, the infrastructure, the technology, how the process in these companies work. But we were focused also in the main companies because they have a high technology, high process that maybe it will implement in the other companies, but that depends on the budget and also from the different topics. Next slide, please. With information that we have collected, we prepare our first guide about the best available techniques and best environment practices. With this guide, we provide a comprehensive analysis of the best process on the best practices that Ecuador has in the moment, but also we try to improve the information with the best available techniques that also could be implemented in Ecuador. The second output that we have was about the strengthening capacity to address the management of identified sources of mercury emission and releases. In this case, we work directly with the Environmental and Social Remediation Program. This is another program that is working in Ecuador. They are focused in determinate contaminate sites, but the main problem here is like we cannot say that all of that the contaminate sites that we have in Ecuador can present or could present mercury concentration. For that analyze, we need high quality technology, high qualified laboratories that we don't have. It's important to mention also that companies like Holcim, the main cement company in Ecuador, they made the analysis in send the samples to another countries. It's because we don't have the technology. With this information that we collected with this program, we also prepared our second guide, which established the specific criteria for identified and prioritized sites requiring immediate intervention. It's also important that here we try to develop methodologies to assess to extend and magnitude the contaminate, to evaluate the contaminate of these sites. But also it's important to say that it's important to have the whole contribution of different institutions from our country in order to ensure that this or that this seed site that we already identified is truly contaminated. That is a very, very important topic because it's difficult for us to just say one site is contaminated, but we don't know exactly which pollutant chemical elements or other pollutants are contaminated. And what is also why it's important to work for different institutions, because also this has a risk for the health of the public health, and that is also how important it is for us to work with the different institutions that we already have. Please, the second slide. Our last output to review of national regulation framework and regulation of proposals to address regulatory deficiencies in order to comply with the obligation of Minamata Convention is also that here we identify regulatory gaps that we have in our constitution, in our environmental laws. For sure, we need for legal reforms for implementation of new policies to ensure the proper management of mercury. We already have some unveiled environmental laws we call Ministerial Agreement 0978, but it doesn't include reference for values for mercury. So that is the reason we also need to reform our our environmental laws. But in this output, we prepare our legal proposals. We prepare technical support for different sites, for the public companies, for the private companies that are involved in this topic about mercury, and also to establish the maximum permissible limits of mercury that the manufacturer of cement, clinker, and smelting of non-ferrous metals should have. This is important to mention that these proposals are presented, but not until now is not approval. So we should wait or just expect that many other proposals can come and to stretch our environmental laws. Also, we have to mention that with this proposal, also we are focused to improve the capacity of the laboratories that we already have in Ecuador. not just for monitoring Mercury, uh, also for trying to do the analysis here in the same country in Ecuador, because it's also expensive for companies to send samples to another country. But also I could say that we have yet today the personal qualified to do this analysis, but at the same time we need to keep these laboratories or to certify these laboratories. Next slide, please.
Dear Pablo, we need to wrap up, please.
Sorry.
We need to wrap up, please.
Okay. So to finish my intervention, it's like I am going to talk about the impacts and next steps. The medium and long term is also to improve our environmental monitoring, and we expect that in the next years we can have a very good monitoring process. Also to implement the best available practice, and that the companies could improve their process. And also, I mean, the main topic is to update the standards and regulations. For us, for this reason, it's also important for us the support that we already gave us, because we are committed to control the mercury in our country and to protect our environment. So without your help, it's impossible to do this job. And I really thank you for your support, and I hope we continue working in this topic. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Pablo. That's been very much interesting, and we look forward to further progress in Ecuador on Mercury, and we hope to be of assistance to the Secretariat of the Convention. So with this, I would like to give the floor to our next speaker, Madam Jiva Palogasveva. She's a director of the Environment Pollution Control and Chemical Management at the Ministry of Environment of Sri Lanka. She holds bachelor's and master's degrees in chemistry and environment sciences from the University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka, and a master's degree in environmental management and policy from the International Institute for Industrial Environmental Economics at Lund University, Sweden. With over 20 years of experience in the government sector, Director Palogasveva has worked intensely in environmental management, environmental impact assessment, environmental planning, and pollution control, project management, and the coordination of donor-funded initiatives. Director Palogasveva is also the project focal point for the SIP project in Sri Lanka, which she will now present. Madam Director, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to Sri Lanka for present our project. Our project is strengthening national capacity for phasing out mercury-added products and environmentally sound management of waste consisting of contaminated with and containing mercury in Sri Lanka. The project is funded by a specific international program and implemented by the Ministry of Environment. Next slide.
Madam, next slide is projected. If you please go on.
The overall objective of this project is to build capacity for the phase out of mercury added products and the environmentally sound management of elemental mercury and waste consisting of containing or contaminated with mercury in Sri Lanka. Next slide, please.
Madam,
I
please
think,
continue. Please continue.
yeah, one is missing. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Thank you. Our scope consists of 5 outputs. Output 1 is establish institutional setup for project implementation. And second one is develop a report on Mercury, free alternatives with their cost and benefits and recommendation for future policy directives. And output 3 is national technical guideline preparation. And output 4 is train and awareness of employers from, we focused on 3 sectors, especially on education, industry, and health sector. And the output 5 is dissemination information on the success of the project. Output 1 basically focused on establishment of project steering committee and technical committee. The project steering committee chaired by the Additional Secretary of Ministry of Environment, and the composition of the committee is from ministries from health, education, industries, and other Central Environmental Authority, Gem and Jewelry Authority, Gem and Jewelry Research Institute, Industrial Technical Institute, Consumer Affairs Authority, and so on. The technical committee reviewed and evaluated the technical aspects of deliverables, and the project steering committee was all over the project. It's not my... Next slide, please.
Director Jiva, we have moved to the next slide with output 2.
Yeah. It's not display for me.
Madam Jiva, please continue. The participants are able to see the slide.
Okay. Right. Output 2 focused on develop a report on mercury-free alternatives. With their cost and benefits and recommendation for future policy directives. One of the main achievements, in this activity, we carried out following activities because, you know, there are so many equipment based on the mercury-free alternatives with many kind of cost. Therefore, we need to select the affordable medical devices. Therefore, we have carried out the survey on mercury containing products and processes available in the market under the industry, education, and health sectors. Secondly, we prepared the list of mercury-free alternative products or processes available locally or internationally in relation to industry, education, health, and household sectors. Thirdly, we carried out the cost-benefit analysis related to all identified mercury-free alternatives, products, and processes in industry, health, education, and household sectors. In terms of output 2, we have selected, we have found some mercury-free chemicals and alternatives for mercury and some chemical compounds. The list is, you can see the list of chemicals. Yeah. one of the main achievement of this project is that we selected the main pediatric hospital in Sri Lanka, namely the Mercury Hospital in Colombo, and facilitated to replace all mercury-containing equipment from this project. Basically, before the project implemented, hospital used both mercury-free and mercury-containing equipment, especially sphygmomanometers, thermometers, and CFL bulbs. Accordingly, this project, 120 Android BP apparatus replacing from mercury sphygmomanometers and 200 digital thermometers replacing mercury thermometers and 1,400 LED bulbs replacing CFL bulbs. Additionally, project facilitated to dispose 295.6 kilogram of CFL bulbs from the hospital waste. Then we will move to output 3. The primary objective of this activities to prepare guideline to support Sri Lanka commitment to Minamata Convention by providing comprehensive guidance on the responsible management of mercury throughout his life cycle. In preparation of this guideline, covers all aspects of life cycle management of mercury-containing products and mercury waste, including mercury waste prevention and minimization, handling, separation, collection, packaging, labeling, transportation and storage, and environmentally sound disposal. In preparing this guideline, three reports were reviewed. First one is the Minamata initial assessment, then Basel guidelines, and also review the output of the project and prepare the zero draft. The first draft was prepared based on the stakeholder consultation inputs, and the final draft was also prepared with the stakeholder consultation and review the output too of the project. Next slide, please.
Yes, madam, we are on output 4 now. Thank you.
Yeah. Output 4, we basically focused on awareness and training modules. We conducted 20 training programs and awareness programs. Altogether, 660 officers were trained. From a gender perspective, the majority of government officers in Sri Lanka are female. So especially we focused on education, industry, and health sector. In those sectors, actually, majority of the people in are female. Next slide, please. And also, we have identified key challenges in health sector, education, and industry sector. Basically, in health sector, private health institutions continue to promote mercury-containing thermometers and pressure meters. But as a policy, the government sector, they do not procure mercury-containing equipment in the health sector. And the other one is disposal of waste, mercury containing thermometers and sphygmomanometers remains unresolved because we don't have proper disposal facilities within the country. And the third one is unusable mercury containing CFL and fluorescent tubes pose a problem due to lack of a disposal system, as I mentioned earlier. And gaps exist in health staff awareness on mercury spill management, and government health institutions lack spill management kits. And also the main issue is we have focused limited number of hospitals trained for this program and awareness, because the only few districts we were focused, and we have not conducted those things in all over the country. Next slide, please.
Madam Director, we just advise you to wrap up so that we can move to other speakers
Right,
too.
thank you.
By the end of the
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Thank you. Industry sector also, we have that type of issues, like since we do not have disposal facilities in the country, and also we have some issues with the online import of mercury containing cosmetics and related products. My last slide, please. Last slide, please. This is also focused on the education sector. We have some issues with the disposal of mercury containing waste, with releasing to the environment with other waste. And also the infrastructure facility also issue of this sector. And thank you very much for the organizers for given this opportunity for Sri Lanka to present. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Director, and apologies for this technical glitches. Without further ado, I would like to ask Madam Susanna Andonova, who represents the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning of North Macedonia in the field of sound management of chemicals and waste. To take the floor, Madam Andonova actively participates in the international negotiations under various multilateral environmental agreements and intergovernmental processes. Also, she's a member of the SIP governing board, where she represents the Central and Eastern Europe region as a regional focal point. Madam Andonova is the project focal point for the SIP project in North Macedonia, which she will now present. Sorry, Susanna, but I need to ask you to be as brief as possible. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation to be part of this event. I'm happy to share our experiences regarding our project and related to the implementation of Minamata Convention in our country. This is the title of the project, Strengthening National Capacities to Implement the Minamata Mercury Convention, with a focus on developing a strategy to identify the contaminated sites in the country. Next slide, please. I would like to give some history previously, before we applied for the SIP project. I would not go in details. You can see the slide itself, but I would like to emphasize the active participation of Macedonian government in the whole process of negotiations for the Minamata Convention to be brought as a very important document for the global society. And at the end of this slide, you can see that with these activities, we have managed to ratify the Minamata Convention in 2020. Next slide, please. After our activities, as I mentioned, the first initial steps for our country to be involved in these activities towards Minamata Convention implementation, it was the Minamata initial assessment on mercury in the Republic of Macedonia, where we had an opportunity to make the assessment of the situation with the mercury in the country, and afterwards to proceed with further and deeper investigations on the presence of mercury in the country and undertake future measures to minimize or reduce the presence of mercury. As you can see, we did the initial assessment and, in fact, inventory of the emissions, sources of emissions and releases. However, at that point in 2016, we were able to use a bit older data, statistical data, and we realized that that was the current situation at that time, but very soon afterwards, we had the opportunity to submit a new project to the newly formed, established SIP fund and to update the initial assessment on mercury in our country. Next slide, please. And we, of course, in that period, we have identified the key sectors that are relevant for management of mercury and dealing with the emission of sources and the pollution with mercury in the country. So, as most of the countries are having the same experience, the national institutional framework was very important in this sense. Business sector, general population, including NGOs, consumers, civil society, and media, but also the international involvement and support with the membership in different organizations, so that we go into bigger progress in implementation of the Minamata Convention. Next slide. And this is the project that we will explain and share our experience regarding the SIP funded project, which was approved in the third round. With this project, we decided to not only to update the inventory, but also to develop a national implementation plan for the Minamata Convention. As in our country, these documents are usually adopted by the government, and they are taken as a full responsibility and obligation for the country to implement the actions in the future. In addition, we decided to add additional action activity, which is related to the developing of strategy to identify contaminated sites. Next slide. So to go directly to the what we have completed in the frames of this project which started in 2022. We started with the inception workshop, then where we involved all the relevant stakeholders. Then to update the inventory, we organized a thematic workshop in April 2023. Then the final version of the inventory report have been submitted in February 2024. In this inventory updating, we took the opportunity to use a special methodology where we use the guideline for identification and quantification of the emissions and releases of mercury, which is published by UNEP, but also we have collected new data which were at that time available and updated since 2013. And also we included one activity which is related to taking samples and doing the analysis in different matrices. And those samples were taken in 10 categories, sector categories, where we involved 16 units or 16 industrial capacities or sources of emissions, with 43 samples from water and the solid samples. In the frames of this inventory, we got very good results. I can say more accurate results regarding the situation with the contamination and with the emissions and the releases of mercury. Next slide, please. One of the activities was also in the frames of the updating of the previous initial assessment was also to do some gap analysis on the national legislation so that we define the current status of the transposition of the measures of Minamata Convention for Mercury in the national legislation. And in this table, you can see all the relevant articles in the Minamata Conventions, how they are transposed in our national legislation laws. So most of the articles are completely transposed, but there are some of them which are partially transposed. Next slide, please. That was related to the legislation. This is the next, the second result or the second output. The updated inventory on the mercury releases. According to this inventory, the total mercury releases in the country for the year 2021 is 1,246 kilograms per year, out of which 52% are related to waste deposition and landfilling. The second most significant source of mercury release is the extraction and use of fuels, energy sources sector, and production of recycled metals, with total release of 341 kilos of mercury per year, which means takes 16% contribution in total mercury releases, followed by consumer products with the intentional use of mercury, with release of 190 kilos of mercury per year, which is 9% of total mercury releases. Next slide, please. In this course, as I mentioned, the inventory was consisted also of taking samples, and further results you can see here. I will not read them in details. You will have the presentation available for any interested party. But anyway, we came to more accurate situation and the status of mercury releases with this inventory, which is thanks to this project, of course. Next slide. After the inventory and according to the inventory results, the next activity was related to the prioritization process. Criteria-based matrix was used to determine which individual mercury source has the highest priority for action development. In this activity, we involved wide group of stakeholders, which helped us to validate the priorities according to the three main criteria and several much more sub-criteria, as you can see from the slide. And according to this methodology, we have prioritized 10 locations that could be taken as highest sources or biggest sources of the mercury emissions and releases. Next slide. This is the list of prioritized individual mercury sources in the country. On the top of the list, it's our organic chemical industry, which is in bankruptcy status. So it's the location where we have abundant electrolysis plant. The sources of emissions and releases of mercury are very high. So this is the highest priority for the country, and according to this, we further decided to, in the frames of the development of the strategy for identification of contaminated sites with mercury, we have used this information and data from the prioritization activity, so that we put more focus on the pilot identification, which was part of the project dedicated to the identification of contaminated sites with mercury. Next slide. And this is the slide which is related to the development of the National Implementation Plan on Minamata Convention in the Republic of Macedonia. Here, the first slide is showing the structure of the National Implementation Plan. These are not all actions which are considered in the implementation plan, but of course it will be used for future activities in the country, and of course to be a strategic document for the country to further proceed with the implementation of the Minamata Convention according to its provisions. Now we are in a phase of final phase of development of strategy for identification of contaminated sites. We are facing at this moment with some administrational obstacles to proceed with this, but hopefully we will manage to complete the strategy. Following to the strategy, we will proceed with the pilot identification of the highest priority, as I mentioned, the organic chemical industry and the electrolysis plant situated inside this industry. So our expectations are that we will manage to close the project on time, but there are some obstacles such as local elections, and in our country, as I believe in many other countries, are more important than our activities related to this project. So I hope that it will be very soon solved. And next slide is what we identified as gaps in the implementation of Minamata Convention. So there are four main gaps. That is the lack of intersectoral cooperation and coordination between the various competent authorities involved in the transposition of and implementation of legislation, lack of financial resources for the smooth implementation of all the aspects of the convention, weak records of data on cross-border transport of waste, and insufficient involvement of industry and the private sector in the mercury management and implementation, of course, of Minamata Convention. That's all. That was the last slide. I would like to thank to the SIP Governing Board, to the Minamata Secretariat for all the support we are receiving all the time. I would like to thank to Maria Irene, who is very, very useful in the whole duration of our project, implementation of all the activities. And hopefully we will manage to solve the issue we are having at this moment until we finish the project. Thank you very much. And I wish all the best to the Minamata Convention and the Secretariat for in the future activities.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Thank you very much, and apologies for rushing this. We have the last presentation to be delivered by Pate Jaye, a renowned mining and environmental expert and a pioneer in ESG practices in Senegal, with over 18 years of experience across the several sectors. He combines extensive field expertise with strong academic credentials. And Mr. Jaye is a project focal point for the SIP multi-country project covering Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Togo. So, Pate, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will go fast because you have few time. Our SIP project is a catalytic for implementing the Minamata Convention in West Africa, conducted by three focal points of Togo, Ajavon Kai, my colleague, and Bachono Part. Next slide, please. We say a modest project and a global impact. SIP create a synergy between Burkina Faso, Senegal, Togo. It's the first project of Minamata Convention bringing together the three countries in West Africa, Togo, Burkina, and Senegal. The SIP project positioning Minamata Mercury Convention, the most dynamic environmental convention in the three countries mentioned by the Burkina Faso General Director during the regional meeting. Next slide. Global impact of the SIP. The SIP Minamata project is the first project to attempt synergy with WHO on dental amalgam. WHO supported the participation of the Minamata focal point, also the SIP focal point, for its participation in the global event in Bangkok 2024. The SIP supported the participation of the Jeff7 project focal point on dental amalgam in Ministry of Health during the workshop to develop the Mercury decree with included the dental amalgam component into proposals the Senegalese Ministry of the Environmental of African Declaration. It's a very important declaration for the elimination of the dental amalgam in pregnant women and children under 15 years of age. Which was subsequently adopted at AMSEN 2. And I mentioned it in my presentation because it's not a result with the SIPs, but a very important result because the SIP project proposed it to our minister. Next slide, please. Slide. African impact, a model of South cooperation. Three ECOWAS countries harmonizes the legal framework. I presented in JAPU 7. New data available of this project. 90% of West African mercury come from the Emirate via Togo. And during the regional meeting organized in Togo, all actors was very surprised when we see that all mercury in different regions of Africa provided in Emirate, Dubai, and it's a very, very, very important for us to understand it. Creation of a sub-regional database on mercury trade, database available in SIPS project. Next slide, please. And in this map, you see all mercury enter in African region in Togo. And the Ministry of Environment, Togo, have this information during the implementation of this SIP project. Before this project, Ministry of Environmental in Togo and our different ministers don't know that where mercury come in Africa. And the SIP reveals that mercury come in Africa in Togo. And next slide, please. And in this table, you see the proof that mercury come in Africa in Togo. And you have 55 ton mercury enter in Africa in 2021, 2024. And it's a very, very, very bad for our country. Next slide, please. And a concrete result in three countries, 2022, 2025, 3 national decree plus technical order, battery, lamp, cosmetic amalgam, 206 agent trained custom inspector laboratory, and an important result to integrate gender approach, 30% reverse regional average below 20%. 62 women trained and 144 men. 20 information education and formation workshops. 3,000 people and directed reached during this SIP. Next slide, please. And it's very important, this slide, because an important result of SIP is to provide material and equipment of our different levels. In Senegal, for example, in the in this photo, and in Burkina Faso, we provide different equipment of labo. Thank you. And next slide, please. SIP vision and legacy, an African model of regulatory, scientific, and technical cooperation, a lever for transforming public policy, health, environmental, trade, justice, etc. Catalytic project mobilizing academic, NGOs, custom, and professional association, a solid foundation for an ambitious future regional Mercury elimination project. And you have my contact. If you want to document, you send me or you send Irene. We have many documents university give us during this SIP. Next slide, please. Slide. And this photo is very important for us because during I take declaration, Bangkok Declaration, Bangkok Statement carried by the two focal points, and we hope that the next Bangkok meeting or next WHO dental amalgam meeting, we propose, if it's possible, to help us to propose a new declaration, including the elimination of dental amalgam. Next slide. Next slide. And at the last, it's not my project, Partege focal point. It's the job for 3 focal points. Roger Barreau at first, Batono, Burkina Faso, my colleague Ajavon, BRS Director Abdoulaye Diaw, Environmental Director Baba Drame, my colleague Head Pollution and Nuisance Hassan Diop. And in this slide, it's very important for our team because our 3 countries dedicated this SIP project to Marianne Bailey, the visionary who initiated it and guided us along the path to its fulfillment with respect and gratitude. We say, thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Secretariat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Minamata. Make Mercury history.
Thank you. You are so kind. Dear colleagues, we have to finish at this point. We've gone over time, but I hope that this was insightful, and whoever watches it after we are done, please feel free to reach out to the Secretariat, and also we will do our best to respond to the questions that's been posed in the chat. And before we close, I would like to invite Irene, just to say a couple of words.
Thank you very much, Alexander, and thank you very much to my colleagues at the Secretariat, but also to all the project partners of all SIP projects who every day we know you overcome so many challenges in your countries to make it possible to implement the convention in your countries and the SIP projects. So thank you very much. It's been a true honor for me to work with you over the years. Thank you.
With this, thank you very much, and I call this meeting closed. Have a good day.